Well, still talking about the story, let's quickly join our security expert, Mr. David Otto. Thanks for joining us on the program. Good news coming from DAPTI about the release of the girls. The Minister of Information, Mr. Lai Mohammed, says the girls were released through back-channel efforts with the help of some friends of the country. What do you make of this?
As you said, it's a good news that some of these girls have been released to their parents. The government has said the back channels have been involved to the release of these girls. But one needs to understand the circumstances that Boko Haram just walked into Yobe town and dropped these girls to their parents with the military presence. And I understand some reports are saying that they had a pre-arrangement. But there is a lot of controversy, which I do not want that controversy to becloud the happiness that some of the parents have that their girls have been released. But I think this is not the hallmarks of Boko Haram kidnap strategy. The girls have never been shown in any Boko Haram video. You know, it's very, very strange that the girls were taken. The army had said before that they had rescued 76 of them. Then these girls were not rescued. Then the army said, you know, it is now looking for the girls. And a month after that, the girls have now been rescued by have been dropped off by Boko Haram members without the army actually doing anything to either intercept them. So there is a lot of controversy. But again, I don't think it should becloud the happiness of the girls and the parents who are happy that their children have been returned.
Indeed, a lot of questions people are asking, especially, you know, why the girls will be given up so easily. The group has not suffered any losses since the DAPTI girls' return. Is this the end of further abductions in the northeast?
First of all, this is not a pattern of Boko Haram, as I said earlier on. Boko Haram doesn't act like the way it has acted. We understand that the girls were held by the Al-Banawi faction, which is associated with the ISIS movement. The fact that these girls have been released very early is an indication that they may have received some ransom payments or other concessions, which of course the government has denied. Of course, all governments will not agree or accept that they pay ransoms to girls for girls to be released. But what this indicates is that a business has been made out of this. Boko Haram would continue to kidnap girls. Criminal groups will continue to kidnap girls for the purpose of ransom. And this is not the end of it. But we're happy that these girls have been released. But what the government has to reassure parents is that this kind of attacks will not happen again. But
finally, Mr. Otto, with the release of the DAPTI girls, are you hopeful that the remaining Chibok girls will also be freed and soon?
These are different circumstances. The remaining Chibok girls are mainly controlled by the Shekau faction, which has a different dynamics of how it operates. The DAPTI girls, as I said earlier on, they do not seem to have been captured by the Shekau's faction. You know, there are many questions which have not been answered. So we cannot compare the Chibok girls to the DAPTI girls. So we hope that the same back channels that the government has used to release the DAPTI girls should also be used to release the Chibok girls. That is a hope that I'm sure a lot of Chibok parents would be clamoring for as they witness the release of the DAPTI girls today.
Thank you so much, Mr. David Otto, a security expert, for joining us on the program. Well, we're still keeping our eyes on the release of the DAPTI schoolgirls, and a lawyer and human rights advocate, Ahmed Adetola Kazim, will be joining us on the program to further discuss the issue. But let's quickly bring this particular story, and this is coming in from the 44 nations, that is the 44 African countries, as they have signed a historic trade agreement that is set to bring about free cross-border trade on the continent. Well, the trade deal will create a market of over 1 billion people with a GDP of approximately $2.6 trillion. Report says that only 27 countries have agreed to allow freedom of movement across the border. Proponents of the pact were pushing for a free flow of goods, services and labour across more than 50 countries.
Of integration for this great continent.
African heads of states and business leaders from across the continent are gathered in Rwanda's capital, Kigali, ahead of a historic signing of the African Continental Free Trade Area, an agreement that would pave the way for continental commerce. Meeting business leaders ahead of a signing, Rwanda's President Paul Kagame addressed delegates and reiterated the need for the treaty, which he said would boost low levels of intra-regional trade, key to the continent's economic well-being.
This agreement is about trade in goods and services. These are the kinds of complex products that drive high-income economies.
But the event was overshadowed by the announcement that Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari will not be attending the signing of the framework agreement. The CFTA, the brainchild of the African Union, was meant to be signed by all 55 member states of the AU, bringing together 1.2 billion people with a combined gross domestic product of more than $2 trillion. Nigeria, the continent's most populous country, had been one of the foremost champions of the CFTA, which has been in the works since 2012.
If Nigeria doesn't join, it will have an impact, definitely. Nigeria is a 190 million population country. It's a large economy. Like I was telling you, we happen to have Aliko Dangote, who's the African richest man, as co-chair of the Afro Champions. So we hope, which is our sincere hope, that Nigeria will not pull out of it.
At the moment, trade between African nations accounts for around 10% of the 55-nation continent's total commerce, a ratio that has been in gradual decline over the past decade and which compares unfavorably to 25% in Southeast Asia.
Still to come on Network Africa, while still keeping our eyes on the release of the Dapchi schoolgirls, Kenya's ruling party confirms that it hired controversial consultancy firm Cambridge Analytica for the 2017 elections.